catalyst for these types of events and for other things that we do here at FGCU. In large part, the students and Dr. Peter Blaze Cochran, because of their efforts, FGCU has a way of staying in tune with our progress on environmental sustainability, and we greatly appreciate that. I will tell you all, and those of you who are students here, and faculty and staff, we are not perfect in that area, but we are getting better with everything that we do, from the LEED certified buildings that I have pledged that we will build from this point on as long as I'm here. So you all need to work to keep me here a long time. We are looking at the very latest in the not only the design of our buildings, but the equipment that we place in them. So environmental sustainability is not adjunctive to the mission of Florida Gulf Coast University. It is at the core of the mission. My notes here says I'm to give brief remarks, very brief remarks actually, but I'd like to acknowledge people that you'll hear from later on, our panelists, and they'll get a proper introduction later on. Arabella Daniels, Cruz Solucio, Jake Scott, who's behind me here, coming from England, and of course Ishmael Beah. Ishmael is here for this event, but he's also here for our Writers Conference that will be out on Sanibel Island for starting tomorrow and going through the weekend. And some of you may remember that Mr. Beah was here for our honors convocation a couple of years ago. So we're pleased to have a very distinguished panel here. We are also, I am also pleased to be working with the co-moderators, Jessica Mendez and Joseph Weekland. I'm told they tease him and call him Joseph Strongland, but he is Weekland. Not my joke. I heard that from Peter. One very unique thing about the Terry Tempest Williams student dialogue is that this dialogue, while there will be some context to it, and you'll hear from the co-moderators about that, it is a very organic dialogue, and it will wax and wane and change directions based on the interactions between the people in the audience and the panelists. So while you will hear some of the context that has been planned for this dialogue, please understand that your contributions really are what's going to shape this dialogue. And another very impressive thing about it is that it's primarily put together by students. Most of those students, many of them, are affiliated with the Center for Environmental and Sustainable Education. So again, on behalf of the entire university community, my lovely wife, Joanna Bradshaw, who's talking at this moment while I'm speaking. Nothing new. But we are so pleased to be here this evening and be supporters of the mission of the Center, Peter, and so very pleased to be affiliated with Florida Gulf Coast University. So thank you all for having us. Students, thank you for putting this together. We look forward to a very, very informative evening. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Mendez. I am a graduate assistant at the Center for Environmental and Sustainability Education. I will be co-moderating tonight's dialogue along with my colleague Joseph Weekland. The Terry Tempest Williams Student Dialogue is a signature event of the Center that focuses on education for a sustainable future, including students' role in the natural, cultural, social, and political environments. The dialogue is intended to spark youth activism and inspire intellectual climate among the FGCU and Southwest Florida community. I would like to extend our gratitude to the organizations that came out in support of the dialogue's initiatives. The Center sponsors this event to create an open space for engagement and exchange of ideas between students and their community, and most importantly, it encourages ownership of that dialogue. The organizations will hopefully absorb some of the momentum the dialogue is intended to spark. It is important that we all learn from learn about each other's presence and leadership in the community and acknowledge the potential of student involvement in these areas. So please feel free to speak with them and learn more about their initiatives. The Terry Tempest Williams Student Dialogue has a very inspiring history. It takes its name from the celebrated nature writer and activist who was invited and then disinvited to speak at FGCU's 2004 freshman convocation by former FGCU President Bill Merwin. Student assistants at the center rejected the administration's claim that Williams intended to use the convocation for a political agenda. And in the spirit of open dialogue, listening, and engagement, extended a separate invitation for her to speak on campus. She accepted, and in the end was welcomed by the president. Hundreds came to hear her speak on social justice and human rights issues in Immokalee, Florida, and on her book, The Open Space of Democracy. From this student response emerged our annual Terry Tempest Williams Student Dialogue, a signature event of the center that focuses on education for a sustainable future. I would also like to thank our keynote listeners for coming out tonight. The concept of a keynote listener was created by our panelist and Center Board of Advisor Jacob Scott while exploring possible themes of this year's dialogue. A keynote listener is someone who participates in active listening, is a community leader, and embraces civic engagement. Your respected status in the community can help relay the message of youth communication for a sustainable future outside of this room and into the wider community. So if you'd like to give a stand or just a wave, I will introduce our 4 keynote listeners. First one is J. Webb Horton. He's the assistant. He's the assistant athletic director and head coach of the men's tennis program. J. Webb Horton also coordinates the community relations effort of the FGCU athletic department. Peter Ryther, student government vice president. Peter's also a former student assistant of the center. And President and Joanna Bradshaw have always been supportive of our missions at the center and sustainability issues at FGCU. And now my colleague Joseph will speak on the concepts of dialogue and introduce our panelists.
Good evening. The Terry Tempest Williams Student Dialogue focuses on the intersection of one or more concepts in sustainability. For example, our last student dialogue in 2007 examined climate change and food systems in our local context of FGCU. The center invites several panelists to explore different facets of the dialogue's topic. After the panel has spoken, we open up the conversation to include questions and comments from the audience. The inspiration for this year's dialogue emerged from our increasing interest in new ways to communicate the idea of sustainability. We want to explore the question of how young people can communicate and collaborate for a sustainable and peaceful future. The content and substance of the dialogue always emerges from the contributions of our individual panelists and questions from audience participants. However, before I introduce our panelists, I want to briefly discuss our thoughts on several areas in which young people, communication, and sustainability intersect. Areas to which we've asked our panelists to bring their own unique insights. Emerging internet technologies such as MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and Skype can serve as powerful conduits for education and action. The concept area we've called digital collaboration towards sustainability asks how we can use social media and internet technology to communicate and collaborate for a sustainable future. A second place in which these concepts come together is in our critical engagement with consumer media. An increasing number of young people spend most of their time inhabiting the media and information landscapes of the digital age, forming fewer traditional relationships with people or place. The digital structures that connect us also influence our lives and our values. How then can we become more informed and responsible inhabitants of our digital environments? The third dimension of our topic this evening is the question of hope, despair, and the future. Environmental messages are increasingly grim and apocalyptic.